Well, hello, good morning. I'm Sue Blythe. I'm a roving reporter with the Climate Collaboratory, and we're talking with people in Alachua County, Florida, who are bringing light and life to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. John Dix, I know you care deeply about goal number 13, which is climate action. And so how do you put that commitment into practice on a day by day basis?
Good morning, Sue. It's a pleasure to talk to you about a subject that's very important. Uh, when we talk about climate action, it's very important to take it and generalize it into something that goes into our day-to-day activities, because climate action is basically our environment and taking care and doing the things that take care of our environment. I have many hats that impact the environment, and I can do it in a way that's positive, or I can do it in a way that's negative. So I choose to do it in a way that's positive because I think, uh, going even back to the Bible, God requires us to take care of the earth that he's given us. And based on that foundation, it's up to each of us to do our part in any way that he's given us to make sure that the earth is taken care of. So one of my hats is a fourth generation farmer. I am involved and have been involved with agriculture all of my life. I have a degree in agricultural engineering, and through that degree and through my background of growing up with my grandfather on our cattle farm, in which we grow cattle, but at that time we also grew many crops. And part of taking care of the environment on a farm is to have a variety of things that balance out. A combination of livestock and crops allow each of them to work together so that the environment comes out better. And again, we have to make sure that the environment is taken care of. Sustainable agriculture is a term that's used to mean that it's a balance between agriculture and the environment. Sustainability means to give back and make sure that what you're taking away is balanced out in a manner that we get a continuous use of that product, which is our environment. We don't want to take away and not give back. So in sustainable agriculture that I have on my cattle farm, which I raise about 40 head of Angus cross beef and also 5 quarter horses, we make sure that each day we're doing practices that protect the environment and expand the earth natural resources and maintain and improve our soil for fertility. We want to make sure that the foundation of what we do is the soil. And we want to make sure that we take care of that soil so that in the long term, we can have a profitable income and we can keep agriculture going and at the same time promote environmental stewardship. Sustainability is a combination of a three-legged stool. It's a combination of having environment, society, and economy together. We want to make sure that we're doing having a profit, but at the same time not having a profit at the expense of our environment, and making sure that therefore the society can therefore be taken care of better. So in my practices, in my day-to-day practices, I'm making sure that each day when I go out with my cattle, that I'm doing it in a manner that protects our environment. And some of the practices that I do are things like rotating crops. There are things like planting cover crops, reducing my tillage. I reduce the amount of spraying and eliminate spraying for pesticides. I also do things like rotating my cattle from one place to the other. Sue, can you hold on just 1 second? So we want to make sure that each practice that we do on our farm not only is good for the immediate, but we want to make sure that it's also good for the future. Because one of the things, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a 4th generation farmer, and it takes a lot of continuous practices that looks not only for the immediate, but also for the future in order for it to be a 5th generation farmer. I also take the time to take my grandson, take my cousins out and attach them to the farm, attach them to agriculture. And that's one of the things that's very important. That's what my granddad did with me. That's what my uncles did with me. It gave me a mindset to look not only for profitability, but also for longevity, and making sure that the land is taken care of, making sure that the soil is taken care of, making sure that the trees are taken care of, such that we can continue to have the foundation that allows for a sustainable future in agriculture, but a sustainable future in our environment.
Beautiful. So you mentioned that your grandfather was a big influence in your life. I wonder if you can tell us about a moment that was particularly influential in the work that you're doing today.
Well, one of the things that people in earlier generations, especially farmers that depended on weather, the environment, they were close to nature. So one of the things that he always told me to do was to always survey your land, walk around in the mornings, see what's going on, walk, get in tune with nature, understand what's going on. If you understand the bird cycle, understand the pest cycle, understand when you see ant, all nature is balanced. And he used to say that if you look at the way things are working together and you see something out of balance, then you know that there's something different. Even watching your animals, when a bad storm is coming in, if you watch your cattle, they will group up together and they will make sure that they huddle together so that they can withstand things in unity. He says, be in touch, always have your senses that you're in touch with your environment, and your environment can tell you when things are going wrong, or it can tell you what's going right, especially your soil. If you have a good balance of soil and you're doing the right things, then you'll have good, healthy soil. You'll see the earthworms, you'll see all the things that are living in the soil. You'll have living soil versus dead soil. So one of the things that I always watched was how he stayed in touch with the environment and let the environment tell him what was going on. And I try to do that every time I'm out on my farm. I walk around to see what's out of balance, what things that we can do to make sure that the environment is still being taken care of, because that is the foundation, particularly our soil, our grasses, our water, all the things that make us be able to have a good product, which is cattle for me. And also I really enjoy the horses. So these are the things the products that I get, but I get them by putting in good input into the environment.
Wonderful. And you mentioned that you have a grandson. Is it just the one?
Yeah. No, I actually have 5 grandsons, but I have one grandson that's 20 years and I basically raised him. So he's also involved. I make sure that he understands some of the things that my granddad tells me. In fact, I show him fence lines and posts that my granddad and I put up when I was 5 or 6 or 7 years old. And the work ethic that goes in and doing a correct fencing line, making sure that it's done correctly. And if it's not done correctly, I remember putting staples into posts and not putting them in correctly, and my granddad having me take them out and do it correctly. So a lot of work ethics is also something that I remember learning. The environment, work ethics, making sure that you take care of your dirt, because your dirt is the foundation from which all living things come.
And looking at the future for our climate and your grandchildren, what are your hopes for this whole field of sustainable agriculture?
Well, I'm hoping that profit and large commercial farms don't become the norm. I think that we need increased productivity, but not at the expense of destroying our environment. There's a lot of new technology being done in the field of agriculture. Bayer is doing quite a bit in growing things inside. That is basically laboratory growing so that it increases the yield. But at the same time, I'm hoping that we don't lose touch with our environment and making sure that we can conserve energy by learning how to do things more efficiently, better machinery. We can reduce our greenhouse gases by using less gas and going to more electrification on our farms, conserving our water by going to more conservative type of irrigation systems like microjet irrigation, micro drip irrigation, things that will allow us to still be productive, because the farm has to make money, but at the same time, not being so driven toward profit that we forget that we have to take care of our environment, and not to forget that it's about people, it's about lifestyles, it's about making sure that the farming community and the family farms stay vital. We don't want to forget that food and animals and soil and trees are part of the things that make us feel human. We don't want to get into a stage in the future that food is just taken for granted, that it's just something that you take. But we got to always remember where it comes from. And by understanding that, we understand the value of the environment. And I think that is very important, that we know that the environment is what gives us not only food, but it gives us pleasure. As I mentioned to you earlier, getting out on my farm early in the morning and feeling the brisk wind and walking with the soil and understanding that that's where my granddad also walked. And it just gives you a sense of making sure that the environment is just not just something you talk about, but something you feel. And when it becomes part of your heart and part of what you feel, you're going to take care of it, because just as God says, this is something that he's given us to take care of. And we will do the things to make sure that it stays a part of our lives.
John Nix, I sure do thank you for all you do to care and love for the environment, your farm, and to pass this on the way it was passed on to you by your grandfather. You are passing it on to the next generation. And I know that you do that in the schools as well as with your own family.
Right. We have a gardening program at our Lachue County schools in which we get kids involved with soil. We also work with recycling, making sure that things don't impact the environment in a negative way. And that education is very important for the next generation.
Thank you for all you do. And thank you for your time.
And thank you, Sue, for all you do also. My pleasure.
Okay.